Canada is a pretty cool place. I would know. I live here. But one part of Canada that I don't think is often thought about much in the public consciousness, even amongst rail fans, is of course our proud railway history. From the Rocky Mountains to the Great Lakes to the East Coast, railways have connected and shaped Canada for well over a century. And given that I have a platform where I discuss a lot of real-life railway history, I thought, what a great opportunity to share with the world the stories and tales of the railroads of Canada. So, welcome to my new series, Canadian Rail Heritage, where in each episode we will discuss a different part of Canada's vast rail heritage, whether it be a cool story, or a locomotive, or the history of a railway itself. In today's episode, I would like to take you all on a trip to eastern Ontario, specifically to the town of Lindsay, where, situated in Memorial Park on display, is the Toronto, Hamilton, and Buffalo Railway number 42. This engine lives a fairly quiet existence now, but it has quite the history, and I thought there was no better engine to start this series with, so let's dive into it. Opening in 1892, the Toronto, Hamilton, and Buffalo Railway, or TH&B as I will refer to them here, served the Hamilton, Brantford, and Niagara areas of southern Ontario, with lines running from the Brantford-Waterford area through Hamilton and down into Welland, with branch lines running into Dunnville as well. The original idea was to provide a link between Toronto and the International Railway Bridge, which would connect the line to the American rail network. This idea never materialized, however, and by 1895, the Canadian Pacific Railway and the New York Central Railway bought out the TH&B. For the rest of the railway's life, ownership and management was split between the CPR and the NYCR and its subsidiaries, Michigan Central Railway and Canada Southern Railway, until, in 1977, the NYCR's portion was acquired by CPR, giving them 90% ownership, with CPR operating the majority of the TH&B lines to this day. The company functioned as an alternative means for businesses in the Hamilton area to ship their goods and products across the Hamilton, Brantford, and Niagara areas. And as such, they utilized many 440s, 1440s, 462s, and other configurations and types of steam locomotives. One of these was the B2-S 060 locomotive, a switching engine, of which 13 of similar or exact designations were built for the TH&B between 1912 and 1918. These engines were built by both the Montreal Locomotive Works and the Canadian Locomotive Works, with the focus of our story, number 42, being built in September of 1912 by Montreal Locomotive Works. The first of the railway switcher fleet having the designation B-2S 060, the engine was coal-firing, had a weight of 166,000 pounds, or 83 tons, 21 by 28-inch cylinders, 51-inch driving wheels, and a boiler pressure of 180 psi. These specs with a pinch of salt, however, as I'm not entirely sure how credible they are. Information on this locomotive is, of course, limited. Number 42 was given the works number 51510, and given its number 42 shortly after. However, in 1947, the TH&B renumbered its locomotives, and it was given the number 40 instead. 060 tender engines are able to pull heavy, slow freight trains, and they excelled at switching duties, making the B2s perfect for the heavy industrial setting of southern Ontario and the Hamilton area at the time, especially given that the region was so economically propped up by the Hamiltonian steel industries, thanks to companies like Dofasco and the Steel Company of Canada, with the TH&B serving Hamilton's heavy industry in the city's north end. Number 42 was used as a switcher throughout its life, and at times also used as a stationary boiler to heat the Chatham Street Roundhouse or Hunter Street Passenger Station in Hamilton, until of course it saw retirement in 1955. What's interesting to note, though, is that because of their suitability to industrial settings, not one of the B2S 060s were scrapped immediately following withdrawal, with all of them seeing work in various industrial settings across southern Ontario. In 1959, the locomotive was sold to the Steel Company of Canada in Hamilton, also known as Stelco, with a few of its siblings also here as well, such as 41, 44, 45, and 48. Here, 42 was given the new numbering of Stelco number 40. The engine had a sort of guardian angel here too, as the shop foreman, Gord Douglas, had a soft spot for steam and was able to keep the engine around as a portable boiler until he retired in the late 1960s. The engine resided at Stelco until 1969, when, realizing the historical significance of the 060, Stelco donated number 42 to the National Museum of Science and Technology in Ottawa, Ontario. However, downsizing at the museum meant that it had to go somewhere else. Enter Lindsay, Ontario. This is finally where Lindsay comes into our story. Lindsay is located in eastern Ontario, in an area known as Kawartha Lakes, and Lindsay has a proud railway history. The first railway to reach it was the Port Hope, Lindsay, and Beaverton Railway, chartered originally in 1846 as the Peterborough and Port Hope Railway, and during the first half of the 20th century it served as a rail hub with the Grand Trunk Railway, Canadian National Railway, and Canadian Pacific Railways running through and around it. Like many railway towns across Ontario, however, Lindsay eventually saw the end of steam, the improvement of highways, and the subsequent removal of all its railway lines and infrastructure, with the tracks all ripped up by 1992. In 1998, however, the railway display at Memorial Park in Lindsay was created in order to honor the town's railway legacy. This began with the moving of the previously donated CNR locomotive 8510, built in 1951, and a wooden caboose from a different display spot in Old Mill Park on Victoria Street to their new home in Memorial Park, the engine and car having been donated about 10 years prior. Some boxcars also followed later from the municipality of Dysart. In 1988, about a decade earlier, locomotive number 42, then still Stelco number 40, was acquired by the City of Lindsay from the Museum of Science and Technology, as the museum was downsizing at the time and needed to rehome number 42. Number 42 was stored in a factory building on Lindsay Street North until it was moved to the display in Old Mill Park alongside 8510. Viewing was a bit complicated due to it being stored under a wooden pavilion, and vandalism was also an issue. However, in 2009, number 42 was moved to the Memorial Park display, and it now wears its original number and its TH&B identification on its tender. The display is, of course, now taken care of by the Lindsay and District Model Railroaders. And that is pretty well everything you folks need to know about locomotive number 42 and its display home in Lindsay, Ontario. I hope you all enjoyed. There are, of course, many other stories about many other parts of the Canadian railway scene that I am very excited to share with you all. So if this episode does well, expect more like it in the future. I will see you all in the next video. Bye, guys!